So what's up people, and welcome to another episode of Comics, Animations, and Movies. So for today's episode, I would like to continue from the last episode where we were going over some of the things that I wanted to see in the upcoming volume of RWBY, Volume 6. And this is basically a personal biased wish list, nothing where I'm trying to criticize the animators for what they should do, but rather what I was hoping to see would happen in Volume 6. Now, with that said, I did say in Part 1 that I had one criticism, and that's something that I'll leave till the very end. But this will probably be a shorter episode than the previous one, just because I want to just finish up some of the things that I wanted to see in the upcoming volume. Now, just like with the last episode, there will be a lot of spoilers associated with this kind of wish list. So if you haven't watched RWBY and are interested in watching RWBY, then I have left the links once more to the 4 trailers in the Rooster Teeth channel. And I would suggest that you look at the trailers and see if you like the trailers, and if you do, yeah, go watch the series. It's all available on Rooster Teeth's YouTube channel. So anyway, to keep going, the first thing I wanted to talk about was basically the main quest. Now, as you know, Volume 5 ended with Team RWBY coming back together again, Cinder's nefarious plans being thwarted, and of course the Fall Relic being protected and still remaining in the hands of Ozpin and his guardians, or I should say Ozcar and his guardians. And so the volume ended with the expectation that in Volume 6 they will be taking the Fall Relic and the team to Atlas. And there they will probably join up with General Ironwood, who of course is the headmaster of the Atlas Academy, and also get there to protect the Winter Relic. And this brings us to my first request, which is to have Glinda come out in Volume 6 for the main quest. And although I did say in Part 1 of this wish list that I wanted to see a reduction in the total number of characters in Volume 6 as compared to Volume 5 so that the storyline can become better focused, I do feel that Glinda's presence is important for 2 reasons. First, you know that Salem's going to be trying a lot harder in this upcoming volume once she finds out that Cinder failed to get the Autumn Relic. And so Ozpin or Ozcar is going to need all the help he can get to protect these relics, and that basically means he needs most of his guardians save the one who's being the headmaster for Vacuole, and that of course means Glinda. So as strong as Ironwood and Crow are, and maybe as strong as RWBY's team has become, it would be a wise decision on Ozpin or Ozcar's part to have Glinda come all the way to Atlas, because right now I don't think there's any reason to have her in Vale. Now, the second reason I feel Glinda's presence is important is because right now Ozpin is Ozcar, and for whatever anybody says, this creates a very unusual situation. And even, the situation where you look at Ozpin and his guardians and realize that it's now Ozcar and his guardians, this is causing some very tense situation for both the character, Ozpin or Ozcar himself, as well as the team of his guardians. And so who better to ease the situation than Glinda? Because although Crow has been a longtime friend and Ironwood is a good ally, nobody's closer to Ozpin than Glinda. And the other reason is Glinda is probably going to be the better mentor than any of these other 2 guardians to help Ozcar get into and accepting this position and growing into this position, because you know that all Crow's going to do is to try to drag him to a bar, and all Ironwood's going to do is talk about military tactics. So yeah, he needs somebody who will be a lot closer to him as a friend and a mentor, and nobody better than a school teacher, and no better school teacher than Glinda in my mind. So yeah, for Ozcar's sake, I think Glinda's presence is going to be very important for this volume. So that's about it with regards to my character requests. Now, if there are other characters that I would like to see come out in the future, they would be basically Taeyang and Emerald. However, they don't really have to come out in Volume 6. They could come out sometime later, maybe in like Volume 7, so long as they come out somewhere in the Atlas arc. Now, I got a feeling that this Atlas arc is going to be a really important one, so I hope the animators and the writers do it justice by giving it the time necessary to create a good story. And the reason why I want to have these two characters come out, for starting with Taeyang, is basically because of the same reason that I want Glinda to eventually arrive in Atlas. Basically, Taeyang is one of the strongest huntsmen existing in Remnant right now. He was a member of Team Stark, which consisted of Crow, Summer Rose, and Raven, and considering how strong the three other members are, I got a feeling Taeyang is a really strong huntsman. And if that's the case, once again, they're going to need all the help they can to take on Salem. And what a way to bring Taeyang in by, having him come in the clutch to save the day when there's some trouble going on in Atlas. And the other reason, of course, is because of the thing that, of course, Professor Oobleck said, which was, aren't you going after RWBY? And the reason Taeyang didn't was because he had to take care of Yang. But now Yang's with RWBY, so I would see no reason why he would be sitting around at home doing his chores instead of going out in search of his two daughters. And so, yeah, I got a feeling that he will be somewhere along the way on his journey towards Atlas by himself, and eventually will get there on his own to, come into the story later on in that arc. And yeah, he could take Zwei with him, or, let Oobleck take care of Zwei, because those two seem to get along really well. But in any case, I would like to see Taeyang eventually come into the story a lot more. Now, as far as Emerald is concerned, yeah, the reason I would like to see her is because of the revenge factor. I mean, basically, Emerald was the closest character to Cinder, and when Cinder died, you could see the sheer pain in Emerald's eyes, so you know that there's going to be a revenge factor coming in. And the other reason is because of of course, the legend of the four maidens. Once a maiden passes on, her powers goes to the last person that she thinks of before she dies. And I would think that that would be one of two people, Salem or Emerald. And although Salem will be the logical choice, because if you add the Fall Maiden's power to Salem's existing power, she will be a formidable foe. I would think that Emerald would be a lot more interesting story just because of that sheer revenge factor that she has. And considering that Cinder and Emerald were so close, I could imagine Cinder thinking more about Emerald than about Salem before she passes on. So yeah, eventually I would like to see what happened to Emerald and to see if she has obtained the Fall Maiden's powers from Cinder. And this finally brings us to my last and most important request, and the one that I mentioned will be a little bit of a criticism. And the reason why I wanted to bring this one up is not only do I feel that it's really important to maintain the popularity of the animation, especially to the original fan base, but also because it will give tribute and respect to the creator of this animation series, which of course is Monty Oum. As mentioned in part 1, one of the things that made Monty Oum's animation so noteworthy amongst all the other animation series was its amazing level of fight choreography, not only in the realistic nature of its fighting movements, but also in the creativity in how he put together the battles. And being that he was a martial artist and a dancer and a very creative animator, you knew that he took this as a very high level of importance to all the work that he created. And so my biggest request to Rooster Teeth is that they bring back the really high level of fight choreography that was seen in the early volumes of the series for Volume 6 and beyond. And not only do I feel that this is important as a tribute to Monty Oum, but I also feel that this is important to maintain the popularity that RWBY had for its early fan base, as well as for the people who watched the series mostly for its action. And you could tell that most of the viewers initially started watching RWBY because of the action, mostly because of the trailers. I mean, if you look at the 4 trailers, you could see that the majority of the reason people got really excited was because of the action. The story was still not understood. The various characters were still a mystery. They were very intriguing, but it was still quite a bit a mystery. And the animation was quite interesting, albeit quite simple. And the music was quite good, but really the thing that made people's jaw drop was the action. And you could see this even now if you look at many of the reaction videos for the RWBY Red trailer, the very first trailer, where many of the YouTubers who did these reaction videos started out by saying things like,
honestly, I don't have any expectations for this show.
Hey, I'm not sure if it's even an anime, a show, right?
I don't know what this is about.
I don't know. Sometimes she pulls tricks on me. For all I know, it's gonna be a horror show or something.
If RWBY doesn't seem to be what it is, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be very upset.
And of course, when they start watching the trailer, their reactions change to something like this.
Where has this show been my entire life? Seriously, where?
Magnificent.
So I'll leave a link to all of these reaction videos that I show here, but this gives you an idea of what the typical general reaction was to the trailers. And it was the combination of the nice music, the pretty animation, but mostly the jaw-dropping action that made people really interested. As you can imagine, people would not really understand what the story was about, and most people were like, I don't really know what the story is about, but this is really interesting. Of course, when they started watching the series, then they were greeted to a very nice combination of a very well-written story by Miles Luna, Kerry Shawcross, and Monty Oum, combined with the jaw-dropping action that they saw in the trailers. And what's interesting is one of the most popular episodes, even now, throughout the entire volumes of RWBY, is episode 8 in the first volume, because of the phenomenal jaw-dropping action that occurred in there. And of course, as everybody knows, in 2015, with the passing of Monty Oum, Rooster Teeth lost a very strong resource in being able to create jaw-dropping action scenes in the RWBY series. And unfortunately, of course, because of that, there has been a significant decrease in the action choreography in the recent volumes. Now, I know probably that the company is doing whatever they can to improve on the action scenes. However, and it has become significantly disappointing for me when you actually see actions that used to look like this and now look like this. And I have to be clear, the fighting in the new episodes or the new volumes isn't all that bad. It's just that it's very typical mainstream animation that you might see in something like Disney or something like that. Whereas, of course, what made, Monty Oum's works unique is that his fight choreography was phenomenal, was unique. It was something that was not seen by a lot previous animations, and that was voiced by a lot of people, including the people who did these reaction videos. And so, yeah, I do want to see these episodes in the upcoming volumes slowly going back to the fight choreography that made RWBY so good, because of the fact that aside from the fact that I want to see this exciting action, it may actually quiet down some of the fan base. I mean, a lot of the criticism that you hear right now, based upon the plot holes and the logic on conflicts, is not exactly new in Volume 5. You saw it even in Volume 1. You know, such as the thing like, why did Blake and Weiss not even recognize each other when they first met at the Beacon Academy, considering the fact that the Belladonnas and the Shanaes were always at each other from the past. And so things like that were always existing even in the early episodes, but people really didn't care because that's not what they came to watch. They came to watch the outrageous, over-the-top fighting action. And when that disappeared, then people started thinking, okay, well, if that's gone, I might as well start looking and judging by other things that exist, including the story. And what's interesting is, from a sympathetic point of view, or from a, I guess, passion point of view, I think the story has done quite well, especially Volume 4. There was a lot of good kind of feeling sort of writing that was done in Volume 4, whether that was the interaction between Yang and her father, you know, or the background interactions going on in Weiss's life, or basically one of the most sentimental episodes that happened was in Volume 4 when RWBY saw Jean, you know, practicing using Pyrrha's recording. And for me, I know a lot of people were angry at that because they thought that that was too painful. But for me, I thought that was really nice to see because it showed just how much John cared for Pyrrha, because of the fact that that was what he could hold on to, and that's what he promised Pyrrha. He was not about to back down on his promise because of the fact that he cared for Pyrrha so much. And so I think from a sentimental point of view, I think that RWBY has done quite well. It could be better, yeah, but it could be worse. And overall, I think if you balance everything out, the series has done a lot more good than bad to the viewers. And if they can bring back the hardcore fighting that was seen in Volumes 1 and 2, then I think that will be good. And there is no excuse to say, yeah, Monty was the only person who could make that sort of fighting, because there are other people out there who have shown that good fight choreography videos can be made. And one, in fact, is a RWBY fan-made video. People may have heard about the 30 days, RWBY 30 Days, that was done by Tommy Lau. Yeah, sorry, I forgot who it was by, but Tommy Lau. Yeah, I mean, if you're a RWBY fan and if you haven't seen these videos, I would suggest to take a look. There's two of them. One is called Lee and the other one's called Angel. And the one I especially like is Angel. And so if you take a look, you can see that there are other animators out there who can make some really phenomenal videos. And what's interesting is, yeah, there has been reactions to these 30-day videos, and everybody says, I have no idea what's going on in these videos, but oh my gosh, the fighting is amazing. And I do agree with that. And the reason why I like the Angel video is because the character that comes out to fight is Weiss. And for once, I see somebody who knows how to use the glyphs to use with the summoning, to use with her fighting style. I mean, one of the problems I do see recently is that previously Weiss had difficulty summoning, and she did everything with her glyphs and her weapon fighting. And now that she can do summoning, all I see is her summoning. She has stopped using weapon fighting or her glyphs in a creative manner. And what I see in the Tommy Lau 30-day video is a Weiss that can actually use her glyphs along with her fighting, along with her summoning. And I think that's the way it should be done. And if Rooster Teeth can find some fight choreographers, or if they can actually hire Tommy Lau as a consultant to look into this, then I think that would be really good. A good example of what I mean by that is, for example, if you recall in Weiss's White trailer, the way she took down the, the Geist Armor Knight was that she did a one stab attack to it. Now if she has her summoning skills, she could basically create 6 glyphs around her, and as she comes down with that same stab, she could shoot out 6 blades or 6 beasts to amplify the attack and make her fighting style really strong. And in fact, the 30-day angel is the way I would have expected Crow and Winter's fighting to be. That's the level that I would have expected to see from somebody of those 2 caliber. And so yeah, I'm kind of blabbing on now, but if Rooster Teeth can somehow bring back that jaw-dropping, gut-wrenching fighting style, then man, I will be seriously happy. In any case, I am very happy to continue on to watch RWBY, and I hope they continue on with the story. And best wishes to Rooster Teeth, and I hope that they bring out a really super Volume 6. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments, please comment in the comment section below. I look forward to hearing what you feel about Volume 6, and let's hope that there's something good that comes out. Until then, I wish you all the best in your comic book reading, your anime watching, and your movie watching. And as always, Jaya, nice day, everyone.